Hey everyone, welcome to your channel, Virgo. Wait, before you respond to that message, before you agree to meet, before you say yes to that conversation they've been asking for, you need to hear this because there's something happening right now that you can't see yet. And if you walk into that room, that coffee shop, that conversation, without knowing what I'm about to tell you, you might give away something you can't get back. Stay with me. I know someone's been reaching out. I know there's been this energy of them wanting to talk, wanting to explain, wanting to sit down face to face and finally have the conversation. And part of you, part of you has been curious. Part of you has been wondering, what do they want to say? What's changed? Why now? But here's what I need you to understand before you make any decisions. This isn't about what they want to tell you. This is about what you need to know first. Have you been feeling this pull, this tension between wanting closure and knowing something feels off? Let me know in the comments if this is resonating already, because what I'm seeing is very specific. There's someone, or maybe even a group of people, who've been watching you from a distance. Not in an obvious way, not in a way that's easy to name, but they've been noticing how you've changed, how you've moved on, how you've stopped talking about them, stopped defending yourself, stopped needing them to understand, and that's creating something in them. A kind of restlessness, a kind of realization that maybe they lost access to something they took for granted. And now there's this desire to reconnect, to reach out, to have this face-to-face conversation where they can explain themselves or apologize or test the waters to see if you're still the same person who used to accept less than you deserved. But here's the part you need to hear. This conversation they want to have, it's not for you, it's for them. Does that land? Because there's a probability here. And a pattern I keep seeing when someone who hurt you, who walked away, who chose something else over integrity, suddenly wants to talk in person. And the pattern is this: they're not coming to give you closure. They're coming to get relief from the discomfort of knowing they messed up, relief from the guilt that's been sitting with them, relief from watching you thrive without them. They want to explain. They want to be understood. They want you to see their side, hear their reasons, validate their choices. And here's where it gets tricky, because part of you might want to give them that. Part of you might think, well, if I just listen, if I just let them say their piece, maybe I'll finally get the answers I've been looking for. But what if the answers you're looking for aren't in that conversation? What if everything you need to know, you already know? Think about it. You already know how they made you feel. You already know what they did or didn't do. You already know whether they showed up when it mattered. So what are you really hoping to get from sitting across from them? Permission to move on. You already have that. Validation that you were, right? You already know you were. An apology? And if they give you one, does it change what happened? Does it erase the nights you spent questioning yourself? Let me ask you something, and really sit with this. Have you noticed how much peace you've found in their absence? Drop a comment if this is hitting different right now. Because here's what I keep sensing. You've been building something in the space they left behind. You've been building clarity. You've been building boundaries. You've been building a version of yourself that doesn't need external validation to know what's real. And this conversation they want to have, this face-to-face talk, it has the potential to disrupt that. Not because they're going to say something magical, not because they're going to give you what you need, but because the moment you sit down with them, you're reopening a door you worked so hard to close. You're giving them access again, access to your energy, access to your time, access to your emotional space. And here's the thing about people who didn't value you when they had you. They don't suddenly value you more just because you walked away. They just miss the role you played. They miss the way you made them feel. They miss having someone who cared, who tried, who gave them chance after chance. But that's not the same as actually seeing you. That's not the same as respecting you. That's not the same as being worthy of your presence. And I know this might sound harsh. I know part of you might be thinking, but what if they've changed? What if they really do want to make things right? And maybe they do. Maybe their intentions are genuine. But here's what I need you to understand. Your healing, your peace, your protection, it doesn't depend on giving them that opportunity. It doesn't depend on sitting through an explanation that you never asked for. It doesn't depend on making them feel better about what they did. You don't owe them that conversation. You don't owe them your time, your energy, your emotional labor. You don't owe them a chance to rewrite the narrative, to soften the edges of their choices, to make themselves feel less guilty. Because here's the probability I keep seeing. If you walk into that conversation without being absolutely clear on why you're there and what you're willing to accept, you might find yourself slipping back into old patterns, explaining yourself, defending your boundaries, trying to make them understand something they weren't willing to understand before. And after all the work you've done, after all the growth, the clarity, the peace you've built, is that really where you want to put your energy? Have you felt this before? Like you know what's right, but part of you still wants to give them one more chance? Let me know in the comments because this is important. There's something about face-to-face conversations that makes us feel like we owe people something. Like if they're brave enough to ask, we should be gracious enough to show up. But bravery isn't just asking for the conversation. Bravery is respecting someone's boundary when they say no. Bravery is sitting with your own discomfort instead of asking someone else to relieve it for you. Bravery is accepting that some doors close and they don't reopen just because you finally realize what you lost. So before you say yes, before you agree to meet, before you walk into that room thinking you're going to get closure, ask yourself this. What am I hoping to gain from this conversation that I don't already have? And be honest, really honest. Because if the answer is, I want them to see how much they hurt me, they already know. If the answer is, I want them to apologize, and if they do, does it change anything? Does it undo the damage? Does it make you trust them again? If the answer is, I just want to understand why, you already understand. You've spent enough time trying to make sense of it. And the truth is, sometimes people hurt us, not because we did something wrong, but because they weren't capable of doing right. And that's not your fault. That's not your responsibility to fix. So what are you really looking for? And can you give that to yourself without needing them to be part of the process? Because here's what I keep sensing. You've already moved forward. You've already found peace in ways you didn't expect. You've already proven to yourself that you can exist and thrive and grow without their presence, without their validation, without their explanation. So why go backward? Why reopen something that's already closed? Why give them access to the version of you that's finally free unless you're absolutely clear that you're not going for them? Unless you're absolutely clear that you're not going to get something you need. Unless you're absolutely clear that you're going because you choose to, not because you feel obligated, not because you feel guilty, not because some part of you still hopes they'll finally see you the way you wanted to be seen. If you can walk into that conversation with complete detachment, with zero expectation, with full awareness that nothing they say will change your decision to move forward, then maybe it's just a conversation. But if there's even a small part of you that's hoping for something, hoping they'll prove you wrong, hoping they'll show up differently this time, hoping you'll finally feel heard. Then you're not protecting yourself. You're setting yourself up to be disappointed again. And you've already been disappointed enough. Does this make sense? Comment below if you're feeling this tension right now, because I see you. I see you standing at this crossroads, wanting to do the right thing, wanting to be fair, wanting to give people grace. But grace doesn't mean ignoring your own needs. Grace doesn't mean sacrificing your peace for someone else's comfort. Grace can also look like saying no, like protecting what you've built, like honoring how far you've come. You don't need to prove anything to them. You don't need to show them you're okay. You don't need to sit through their explanation so they can sleep better at night. You're allowed to just keep moving. You're allowed to let that door stay closed. You're allowed to say, I don't need this conversation. I've already found my peace. And if they can't respect that, if they push, if they guilt you, if they make it about what you owe them, that tells you everything you need to know. Because someone who truly respects you, respects your boundaries, someone who truly values you, doesn't put their need for closure above your need for peace. Someone who truly changed doesn't need you to witness it. They just change and they let you be. So here's what I want you to sit with. You've already survived the worst of this. You've already walked through the confusion, the hurt, the sleepless nights, wondering what you did wrong. You've already come out the other side. You've already built a life, a version of yourself, a sense of peace without them. So why risk that for a conversation that might not give you anything you don't already have? Why open yourself up to someone who didn't protect you when they had the chance? You're not being cold. You're not being unfair. You're being wise. You're being protective of your energy, your time, your heart, and that's not something to feel guilty about. That's something to honor. So before you respond, before you agree to meet, before you say yes, just pause, breathe, and ask yourself, is this for me or is this for them? And whatever answer comes up, trust it. Trust yourself because you've earned that trust. You've proven to yourself that you know what's real, what's right, what's worth your energy. And maybe this conversation is, but maybe it's not. And either way, you get to decide, not them. You let me know in the comments what you're feeling right now, because I want to hear where you're at with this. I don't sell futures. I build architects. No predictions, just the raw truth for the tough ones. Stay magic. Stay in the now.